Thank you and welcome to my channel, Simply Your World, where we discuss past and present events that will affect you if they haven't already. The other day I was having a conversation with one of my overly democratic friends, to say the least, and I made a stark comparison between John F. Kennedy and Donald Trump. And I stated that they are the only two presidents in recent history that were truly for the people. And this is one of the worst things that I could say, it seems like. But today I'm going to make a direct comparison between the two and show you that they have much more in common than meets the eye. First, I want to play a 30-second clip about 1963 so you can start to get a better feel about what was going on in those times and the economy. We're going to talk about executive orders that were signed and amended, the old/new currency that was distributed into the economy with the sole purpose of helping the people, and why I personally feel John F. Kennedy was assassinated. We're also going to make the same cross references over to a Donald Trump, and why I feel what he's doing today directly mirrors what John F. Kennedy was doing in that time, and why so many assassination attempts are on his life today.
110 was signed by President Kennedy on June 4, 1963. The economic climate in the early 1960s was one where the United States faced economic challenges such as rising inflation and a shortage of silver coins in circulation. President Kennedy sought to address these issues by implementing policies aimed at stabilizing the economy and providing greater flexibility in managing the nation's monetary policy.
There are 4 takeaways from this clip that should be focused on before we move forward, because they will be very important in the comparison of these two presidents, and they are inflation, policies, a better monitoring system of the nation's money, and a focus on stabilizing the economy. JFK was inaugurated as president January 20th, 1961. One of his main targets were shadow governments and secret societies. He sought after ways to take control out of these characters' hands and place it back with the people. Do you remember when he said this?
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
Here are just a few steps that were taken by JFK that was the beginning of starting to seize control from the powers that be, and I believe that ultimately ended his life. January 21st, 1963. President Kennedy gave access to the average citizen to receive silver certificates to redeem from the Federal Reserve for real silver or bullion. September 17th, 1951. President Harry S. Truman signed Executive Order 10,289, providing for the performance of certain functions of the President by the Secretary of Treasury. Why is this important? This pretty much gave the Secretary of Treasury to do whatever he wanted to do with the money. Check this out. The Secretary of Treasury is hereby designated and empowered to perform without the approval, ratification, or other action of the President the following functions which have hereto, under the respective provision of law cited, require the approval of the President in connection with their performance by the Secretary of Treasury. The authority vested in the Secretary of Treasury by Section 1805 of the Internal Revenue Code to issue rules and regulations with respect to silver bullion, necessary or proper to carry out the purposes of the said section. This has corruption written all over it. What is the 1963 Presidential Transition Act? June 4th, 1963. This was President Kennedy's way of seizing and keeping control of the nation's monetary system, ousting corruption, also attempting to make sure his policy survived well into the future. There were two purposes of the 1963 Act, one primary, one secondary. According to Section 1, the action was primarily designed to promote the orderly transfer of the executive power in connection with expiration of the term of office of president and inauguration of a new president. The statute clearly warns any disruption occasioned by the transfer of the executive power could produce results detrimental to the safety and well-being of the United States and its people. The act also had the secondary effect of sharply reducing the need for private money to support what Congress clearly defined as a public responsibility, as Florida Representative Dante Fascio argued during the House floor debate on July 25, 1963. And if you know anything about politics, you know a lot of corruption flows through the private money sector. November 22nd, 1963. President Kennedy was assassinated 5 months and 18 days from the signing of Executive Order 11,110. It's worthy to note that Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as president in Dallas before heading back to the White House. While heading back to Washington, Johnson reversed Executive Order 11,110 that Kennedy had just signed a few months prior. By March 1964, there will be no more silver certificates to the public, and the power will be placed solely back into the hands of the Secretary of Treasury. Now, in the same vein as policies, stopping inflation, stabilization of the economy, and securing the nation's money, I want to compare Trump's actions to show, like I said previously, how Trump and JFK are the only two presidents in recent history that are truly for the people. January 20th, 2017. Donald Trump was elected January 20th, 2017. I could have taken this in multiple directions, but I decided on the Keystone Pipeline to show how President Trump is taking control from the shadow government and placing the power back with the people. What does President Trump think of energy? Do you remember when he said this?
So we have to start always with energy, always. I don't want to be boring about it, but there's no bigger subject. It covers everything. If you make donuts, if you make cars, whatever you make, energy is a big deal, and we're going to get that. It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%. If I can do that, you've done a hell of a job. 5-0, not 15, 50.
When it comes to the economy, energy and taxes can make or break businesses. It also can affect the average person in more ways than one. Control the energy and taxes, and the economy will stabilize. Stabilization of the economy should be on every president's agenda, right? January 24th, 2017. Only 4 days after President Trump was elected, he signed an executive order to advance the Keystone Pipelines. Why is this important? Here is an image of the Keystone Pipeline that runs from Canada to Illinois. Once finished, it will run all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. What could it do for America? The Keystone XL pipeline will add to the capacity of the existing system to safely deliver up to 830 barrels of Canadian oil each day, meeting significant demand for heavy crude oil at the U.S. Gulf Coast refineries. Now that we know that the U.S. has all the resources it needs to produce all of its own energy, why has everything been so high over the past 4 years? In the past 4 years, the United States has exported significant amounts of crude oil to China. For instance, in 2023 alone, China received an average of 452,000 barrels per day from the U.S., which is more than double the volume from 2022. Additionally, specific batches of oil, such as the 950,000 barrels sold to UNIPEC America in April 2022, highlighted the ongoing trade. If China is supposed to be so much of the enemy, why would America want to sell them so much oil? I'll show you why. China actually has enough natural gas to make it through the winter, said Yan Quinn, a China energy specialist at Refinitiv, a data company in London. The problem is pricing regulations and declining subsidies are preventing gas from reaching households in northern China when temperatures plunge. With so much oil being sold out the back door to someone who is supposed to be our enemy, you can imagine how much money is being made and how many people are benefiting from this. And in the same light, you can see why so many people will want him out of the way. This pipeline issue is causing a lot of problems for the Democratic Party. Okay, so check this out. I want to focus on the last sentence. Republicans and some union groups who back the projects have long sought the administration's green light. Now that we know that, check this out.
Let's go to the next part about the Teamsters. This is actually really, honestly, it is a crazy development.
It's very interesting.
This is the first time the Teamsters have not endorsed a Democrat since 1996. So let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. The Teamsters has announced they will not be making an endorsement in the presidential race. I'll go ahead and read here. It says the General Executive Board of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters on Wednesday elected not to endorse any candidate for U.S. president after reviewing 6 months of nationwide member polling, wrapping up nearly a year of rank-and-file roundtable interviews with major candidates. The union was left with few commitments on top Teamster issues from either President Trump or Vice President Kamala Harris, and found no definitive support amongst members for its party's nominee.
Why is this important, and who are the Teamsters? The Teamsters Union is involved in the energy sector. They represent workers in various energy-related industries, including oil, gas, and renewable energy. Now it makes more sense on why they backed out of the Democratic Party, because they want that contract like we just read. So it's not hard to see who they'll be endorsing shortly. Also, in efforts to stabilize the economy, former President Donald Trump said at a campaign rally Thursday that he would eliminate taxes on overtime pay if he wins a second term in November. Now do you see why I compare Donald Trump to JFK? Because he's making a direct effort to take the power out of the secret government's hands and place it back with the people and make America great again. Please like, share, and comment, and you all have a nice day.